chosen one. Are you tired of feeling like God's forgotten your address? Have you been praying the same prayer for months, wondering if heaven's mailroom lost your file? Do you wake up at 3 a.m. with that gnawing ache in your chest, whispering, "Lord, when is it my turn?" Stop right there. What I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about divine timing. The 7th of September isn't just another Friday on your calendar. It's a courtroom date with eternity itself. And if you're not in that courtroom when the gavel falls, the blessing with your name on it gets reassigned to someone else. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been told that God's timing is mysterious, that His ways are beyond understanding. But what if I told you that sometimes, just sometimes, heaven gives you exact coordinates? What if the 7th of September is your GPS pin to the breakthrough you've been begging for? Imagine a single date circled on heaven's calendar with golden ink, the 7th of September. To the world rushing past Starbucks and subway stations, it looks like another ordinary Friday. But to the chosen ones who've learned to read the signs, it is a gate, a seal, a divine test wrapped in 24 ordinary hours. Ignore it, and what heaven had clenched in its fist for you will slip into the shadows forever. Right now, as these words hit your spirit, something inside you already knows. That flutter in your chest isn't anxiety, it's recognition. Your soul remembers what your mind forgot. You have an appointment you cannot afford to miss. Before we go deeper into this sacred mystery, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here, your support, your time, your attention. It all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But here's the shocking truth that will make your hands tremble. The enemy knows what the 7th of September means. He's been working overtime to keep you distracted, discouraged, defeated, because he knows that if you show up alert and aligned on that day, his game is over. If you feel even a whisper in your chest that this message is for you, type "I receive" in the comments right now. Don't delay. Your agreement is your first act of alignment with what heaven is orchestrating. Tonight, I will take you step by step through 3 shadows, 3 alarms, and 1 final seal. Because if you miss even one piece of this puzzle, the chain breaks and the door closes. The courtroom is in session. The judge is about to strike the gavel. The question burning in the atmosphere right now is this: will you be present when your blessing is called to the stand? Stay with me, chosen one. Your eternity depends on the next 20 minutes. How many nights have you lain awake wondering if God's promises expired with your youth? How many times have you whispered, "Lord, did I miss my moment?" How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers while you were busy being reasonable, being practical, being everything the world told you to be, instead of being ready? Listen to me, beloved. The enemy's greatest weapon against the chosen isn't temptation, it's timing. He doesn't need to destroy your faith, he just needs to make you believe you're too late. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about divine timing is backwards? What if the very moment you've been calling too late is actually heaven's setup for right on time? You see, dear one, there's something the prosperity preachers won't tell you, something the feel-good ministers avoid like poison. God's greatest moves don't happen when you're young and strong and full of yourself. They happen when you're seasoned, when you're desperate, when you've been stripped down to nothing but raw faith and holy desperation. Think about the night of Passover in Egypt. Exodus chapter 12. To every Egyptian household, it looked like another ordinary Tuesday evening. Families gathering for dinner, children playing in the streets, business as usual. But for the Israelites who had been paying attention, who had been listening to Moses' warnings, who had painted their doorposts with blood that ordinary Tuesday was their gateway to freedom, the angel of death passed over Egypt that night, house by house, street by street. And the difference between slavery and liberation wasn't age, wasn't strength, wasn't education or connections. It was obedience to specific instructions on one specific night. One night changed everything. Not gradually, instantly. But here's what breaks my heart about that story. How many Hebrew families almost didn't paint their doors? How many thought, "Oh, Moses is being dramatic again. We've heard this before. We'll get to it tomorrow." How many missed their moment because they treated the extraordinary like the ordinary? Dear chosen one, the 7th of September is your Passover night. The angel of blessing is about to move across this nation, and the question isn't whether you deserve it. The question is whether you'll recognize it when it arrives. Now let me take you deeper into Scripture. Joshua chapter 6. The walls of Jericho didn't fall on day 1 of marching. They didn't crumble on day 3 when the soldiers got tired. They didn't collapse on day 5 when everyone was starting to doubt. Those walls stood firm for 6 days while the Israelites walked in circles, looking foolish to everyone watching. But on the 7th day, the appointed day, the day heaven had marked on its calendar, everything changed in one supernatural moment. 6 days of nothing, then sudden, complete, overwhelming victory. You've been walking around your Jericho for decades, haven't you? That financial wall that's kept you trapped. That health issue that's stolen your peace. That family situation that's broken your heart. That dream that seems impossible at your age. You've been marching, praying, believing, wondering why nothing's happening. But what if you're on day 6? What if the 7th of September is your 7th day? Here's the mystery most believers never grasp. God doesn't just work in our timing. He works in cosmic timing, divine appointments. Kairos moments when heaven and earth collide and the impossible becomes inevitable. The 7th of September isn't just another date on your wall calendar between the grandkids' pictures and the doctor's appointments. It's a divine seal on wet cement. Picture this: wet cement holds the shape of whatever touches it while it's soft. But once it hardens, that imprint becomes permanent. The 7th of September is the last day. The cement of your blessing is still soft. Whatever spiritual posture you take that day, whatever faith you demonstrate, whatever obedience you show, it gets sealed into your future. Miss it, and the cement hardens without your imprint. I need you to think back to a moment in your life when you absolutely knew that something significant was happening, but you let fear or doubt or the opinions of others talk you out of acting. Maybe it was a relationship you should have pursued. Maybe it was a move you should have made. Maybe it was words you should have spoken. Maybe it was faith you should have demonstrated. How does it feel now, looking back? That hollow ache in your chest when you remember what could have been. Have you ever felt you missed your moment, an opportunity that never returned? A door that closed and never opened again? A person who walked away and never came back? A chance to change everything that slipped through your fingers while you were still deciding if you were ready? That is what the 7th of September can be, unless you walk awake. Here's what I need you to understand about the spiritual realm. The enemy knows your calendar better than you do. He's been studying your patterns, your weaknesses, your tendency to hesitate when you should act. He's already plotting to keep you distracted on the 7th of September, already planning to make you oversleep, or get caught up in meaningless drama, or convince you that one day doesn't really matter. But Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." Not every day carries the same spiritual weight. Not every moment holds the same potential. Some days are ordinary. Some days are appointed. The 7th of September is appointed. The cement is wet. The walls are ready to fall. The angel of blessing is preparing to pass over. But the question that will determine your next chapter, your next decade, maybe the rest of your life on this earth is this: will you be ready when heaven shows up at your door? Or will you be too busy, too distracted, too reasonable to recognize the miraculous disguised as the mundane? Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly How to prepare for the most important 24 hours of your spiritual life. Now listen to me carefully, chosen one. Because what I'm about to reveal will expose the invisible warfare already raging around your life. You think the 7th of September is just about showing up, but hell has been planning its counterattack for weeks. 3 shadows have been dispatched with one mission: to keep you distracted, confused, and defeated before you ever reach that sacred threshold. These aren't random obstacles. These are strategic assassins sent to murder your destiny in broad daylight. And if you can't recognize them, you'll never even make it to the courtroom where your blessing waits. The first shadow: envy. Picture this. You've been carrying a secret joy in your heart. Maybe it's a breakthrough you sense coming, a prayer you feel shifting, a dream that's finally stirring back to life. You're so excited you can barely contain it, so you share it with someone close to you, a friend, a family member, someone you trust. And suddenly, the temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. Their smile becomes plastic. Their voice gets sharp around the edges. They start finding reasons why your dream won't work, why you're being unrealistic, why you should be more practical. That warmth you once felt from them, gone, replaced by something cold, something bitter, something that makes your stomach twist. Dear one, that's not coincidence. That's the first shadow. Envy doesn't announce itself with horns and pitchforks. It slides in wearing the face of people you love, people you trust, people who should be celebrating with you. But here's what will shock you. Envy only appears when your light is visible. Think about it. When was the last time someone envied your struggles? When was the last time someone got jealous of your pain? Never. Envy only hunts what shines. It only attacks what threatens its darkness. Cain didn't kill Abel because Abel was weak. He killed him because Abel's offering found favor with God. Genesis 4-5 tells us Cain was very angry and his face was downcast. Why? Because Abel carried something Cain couldn't fake: divine approval. If envy is surrounding you right now, if people who used to champion you are suddenly finding fault, let me tell you something that will set your soul on fire. Rejoice. It means heaven's spotlight is already upon you. The enemy wouldn't waste his energy attacking someone who posed no threat. But here's the test. Will you let their poison seep into your spirit, or will you recognize their reaction as confirmation that you're walking in divine favor? The second shadow: distraction. The second shadow is far more dangerous because it doesn't look like an enemy, it looks like relief. It appears as that mindless scroll through social media that steals 3 hours of your life. It shows up as meaningless chatter with neighbors when you should be in prayer. It whispers as old temptations that seem dead suddenly reappearing, calling your name like sirens. This shadow is like a candy wrapper hiding a poisoned pill, sweet on the outside, deadly on the inside. I need you to understand something that will save your life. The closer you get to the 7th of September, the louder the distractions will become. Your phone will seem more interesting. Netflix will have that perfect show. That old habit you broke months ago will suddenly seem harmless again. Why? Because the enemy knows that focused fire burns down strongholds, but scattered fire barely warms the room. Jesus knew this principle. When Satan tempted him in the wilderness, what was the very first attack? Turn these stones into bread. Distraction disguised as necessity. The devil didn't start with worship or suicide. He started with getting Jesus to focus on something other than his mission. Right now, as you're listening to these words, I need you to make a choice. Guard your focus like treasure. Guard it like your grandmother's jewelry. Guard it like the last $20 in your wallet. Type focus in the comments if you're refusing to trade your destiny for comfort. Because, dear one, destiny demands your undivided attention, and distraction is the thief that steals it while you're looking the other way. The third shadow: misdirection. The third shadow is the most insidious because it comes through people who genuinely love you. It arrives as advice that sounds wise, logical, reasonable. It whispers through voices that say, be realistic, don't get your hopes up, maybe God has a different plan. These people aren't malicious. They're scared. Scared that if you step into your calling, you'll outgrow them. Scared that if you follow God's radical plan for your life, you'll leave them behind. Do you remember when Jesus told his disciples he had to go to Jerusalem to suffer and die? Peter, the same Peter who had just declared Jesus was the Son of God, grabbed him and said, "Never, Lord. This shall never happen to you." Jesus turned and said something that should make every chosen one tremble. "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." Peter meant well. Peter loved Jesus. But Peter was trying to redirect the Son of God away from his divine assignment. And Jesus called it what it was: satanic misdirection wrapped in human concern. How many times has someone you love tried to talk you out of the very thing God was calling you toward? How many times has good advice become a detour from divine destiny? Here's your compass for the 7th of September. If your gut says no while logic says yes, listen to the whisper of God. That whisper is your divine GPS system, and it will never lead you astray. But beloved, these three shadows aren't just obstacles, they're confirmations. Their very presence proves that something significant is stirring in the spiritual realm around your life. Hell doesn't mobilize armies against empty targets. The question that will determine your destiny is this: now that you know what's hunting you, will you have the courage to face it? Because the 7th of September isn't just about receiving your blessing, it's about proving you can recognize the shadows that try to steal it. And that recognition, dear one, is about to become your greatest weapon. We walked through the sacred sequence together, didn't we? The 3rd of September, 4th and 5th, 3 doors, 3 tests, 3 moments when heaven whispered your name. But what if I told you that was just the prelude? What if those 3 days were heaven tuning the orchestra before the symphony begins? Now heaven has opened the next door, 7. Listen to me, chosen one. Numbers are not accidents in God's kingdom. They are his fingerprints on time itself. When the Almighty created the universe, he didn't scatter days randomly across eternity. He carved patterns, rhythms, divine mathematics that the spiritually awake can read like a love letter written in starlight. 7. The number that makes angels hold their breath. In Genesis, God worked 6 days and rested on the 7th, not because he was tired, but because 7 represents completion. The Sabbath wasn't just a day off, it was heaven's signature on finished work. 7 says, it is done, it is sealed, it is permanent. But here's what will shake you to your core. The 7th of September isn't just any 7th day. It's the culmination of a divine sequence that began with your awakening on the 3rd of September. Everything you walked through, every shadow you recognized, every choice you made, every moment you stayed alert while others slept, it was all building toward this one day. Think about Noah. For 7 days the animals marched into the ark 2 by 2. 7 days of preparation before the floodgates of heaven opened and changed the world forever. Genesis 7:10 tells us, "And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth." 7 days of loading. Then the deluge. What have you been loading into your spiritual ark these past days? What attitudes, what prayers, what declarations have you been carrying aboard? Because on the 7th of September, the floodgates open, and whatever you've stored up, faith or fear, hope or bitterness, will be released with supernatural force into your future. Here's the terrifying beauty of 7. It doesn't just complete, it multiplies. In Revelation 8:1, John witnessed something that made heaven itself go silent, and when he had opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven about the space of half an hour. The 7th seal wasn't just another opening, it was the opening. The moment when all of heaven's preparation exploded into manifestation. That's the 7th of September for you, beloved. It's your 7th seal moment. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. What if you've been carrying poison instead of promise? What if these past weeks, while heaven was preparing to bless you, you've been nursing grudges, feeding doubts, entertaining the whispers that say you're too old, too late, too forgotten. Because here's the truth that will either liberate you or terrify you. What you carry into the 7th of September will not just remain, it will multiply sevenfold. If you carry bitterness into that day, it won't just stay in your heart. It will poison the river of your relationships for months to come. Every conversation will taste bitter. Every blessing will feel tainted. Every opportunity will look like a trap. But if you carry faith, if you carry pure, undiluted faith into the 7th of September, it will flood your future with protection. It will become a shield around your family, a fortress around your finances, a waterfall of favor that flows so powerfully that even your enemies will have to acknowledge God's hand on your life. This is why the enemy has been working overtime these past weeks. This is why you've felt under attack, under pressure, under the weight of circumstances that seem designed to break your spirit. He knows what the 7th of September means. He remembers what happened the last time heaven opened a 7th seal. Do you remember the walls of Jericho? For 6 days, Joshua's army marched around those massive walls in silence. 6 days of walking, watching, waiting. But on the 7th day, on the 7th day, they didn't just march once, they marched 7 times. And then they shouted. Joshua 6:20 records the moment. So the people shouted when the priests blew with the trumpets. And it came to pass, when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat. 7 times 7. The mathematics of breakthrough. What walls have been standing in your life, mocking you, telling you they'll never fall? What impossibilities have been grinning at you for decades, whispering that you'll die before you see them crumble? The 7th of September is your 7th trumpet blast. It's the day when every wall that was built to keep you out becomes rubble beneath your feet. But here's what most people miss, and it's going to cost them everything. The 7th day only works if you've been faithful through the first 6. Joshua's army couldn't skip to day 7. They couldn't sleep through the silent marching and wake up expecting the walls to fall. The pattern is sacred. The sequence is non-negotiable. Miss the preparation, and you forfeit the breakthrough. You feel that weight in your chest right now, don't you? That sense that something massive is approaching, something that will either crown you or crush you. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's spiritual radar. Your soul recognizing that the 7th of September isn't just coming, it's racing toward you like a freight train loaded with destiny. The question that's burning in heaven's courtroom right now isn't whether you're worthy. The question is whether you're ready. Ready to carry the weight of answered prayer. Ready to steward the blessing you've been begging for. Ready to walk in the authority that comes when heaven seals its work in your life. Because once the 7th seal opens, there's no going back to who you were before. The old excuses die, the old limitations crumble. The old you who accepted less becomes the new you who expects miracles. But that transformation requires something from you that most people aren't willing to give. Complete surrender to heaven's timing. Complete alignment with heaven's pattern. Complete trust that the God who counted every tear you've cried is about to multiply every seed of faith you've planted. Are you ready for that level of change? Are you prepared for the life you've been praying for to actually arrive? Because the 7th of September isn't asking if you want a blessing, it's demanding to know if you can handle one. Dear one, I need to stop for a moment and look into your eyes, not through this screen, but into the depths of your soul where you carry the weight that nobody else can see. You've been sitting in that chair for the last hour, haven't you? The same chair where you used to hold your grandchildren on your lap, the same chair where you and your spouse used to watch the evening news together. But now it's just you and the silence that grows heavier each passing day. How many mornings do you wake up and the first thing that hits you isn't gratitude, it's the ache of another empty day stretching ahead. Another 24 hours of checking your phone for calls that don't come, looking out the window for visitors who don't arrive, hoping anyone remembers that you're still here. I know about the 3 a.m. moments when you lie awake calculating calculating whether your social security will cover the medications this month, calculating how many years you might have left, calculating whether your children will even notice when you're gone. You lost Harold 3 years ago, didn't you, Margaret? Or maybe it was Mary you buried last spring, Robert. The funeral was beautiful, everyone said, but nobody talks about the mornings after. Nobody mentions how you still set 2 coffee cups out of habit, how you still reach across the bed expecting to find warmth, how you still pick up the phone to call them about something funny you saw on television, and your children. Oh, your precious children. You raised them with everything you had. 60 years of scraped knees kissed better, homework helped, dreams encouraged. But now they're too busy for Sunday dinner, too overwhelmed for long phone calls, too successful to need the wisdom you're dying to share. They love you, they say. But love feels different when it's squeezed between soccer practice and board meetings, doesn't it? You want to know something that might shock you. Your pain isn't accidental, it's prophetic. Every tear you've cried into that pillow, every night you've felt forgotten, every moment you've wondered if God has moved on without you, it's all been recorded in heaven's ledger, not as punishment, but as preparation. Listen to me carefully, precious soul. You are walking the same path that Job walked. Remember Job, the man who lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health, his friends. He sat in ashes, scraping his boils with broken pottery, and cried out, "Why was I not stillborn? Why did I not perish when I came from the womb?" But here's what Job didn't know in his darkest hour. Here's what you don't know in yours. Every ash he sat in was positioning him for a double portion. Every tear was purchasing his testimony. Every moment of abandonment was preparing him for the greatest comeback in biblical history. Job 42:12 declares, "The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part." The latter part, not the younger years, not the middle years. The latter part. You think your best days are behind you. God says your blessed days are ahead of you. Think about David hiding in caves, running for his life, written off by everyone who once celebrated him. Psalm 142:4 captures his desperation. "I looked to my right and saw no one was concerned for me. I had no refuge, no one cared for my life." But those cave years weren't David's punishment, they were his seminary. Every tear he shed in the darkness was composing psalms that would comfort millions. Every moment of isolation was teaching him to depend on God alone. When he finally took the throne, he ruled not with the arrogance of youth, but with the wisdom of suffering. And Anna, sweet Anna, the prophetess, 84 years old, widowed after only 7 years of marriage. She spent the next 77 years in the temple, fasting and praying, watching others come and go while she remained. The world forgot about her. But Luke 2:38 tells us she was there, right there, when baby Jesus was presented. After decades of waiting, she was the first to proclaim redemption to all who looked for it in Jerusalem. Your loneliness isn't punishment, dear one. It's positioning. Your silence isn't abandonment. It's preparation for your proclamation. Your tears aren't evidence that God has forgotten you. They're proof that He's preparing something so beautiful that it requires this level of refinement. Do you see the pattern? Do you understand what I'm telling you? Your pain was not random. Your struggles were not meaningless. Every sleepless night, every financial worry, every moment you felt invisible, it was all leading to the 7th of September. That date isn't just circled on your calendar, it's circled on heaven's calendar with the blood of every tear you've shed. God has been collecting your sorrows like precious stones, and on the 7th of September, He's going to set them in a crown of blessing that will leave you breathless. But here's the urgent truth that should make your hands tremble right now. This blessing has an expiration date, not because God is cruel, but because divine timing is precise. Miss the moment, and you miss the miracle. Right now, I need you to do something that might feel foolish, but is absolutely crucial. I need you to whisper aloud, yes, out loud, these words, "Lord, I will not miss my day." Say it again, louder this time. Lord, I will not miss my day. Your voice carries authority when it speaks agreement with heaven. Your words have power when they align with God's timing. Because the 7th of September isn't just another Friday for you to endure. It's the day God turns your mourning into dancing, your ashes into beauty, your tears into testimonies that will echo through eternity. But the question that's burning in the atmosphere right now, the question that will determine whether you receive what God has prepared or watch it pass by is this: will you be awake enough to recognize your moment when it arrives? Listen to me, chosen one. We've walked through the shadows together. We've dissected the alarms. We've peeled back the veil on the 7th of September. But now comes the moment that will separate the wheat from the chaff, the wise virgins from the foolish ones. Do you remember the parable Jesus told in Matthew 25? 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom. 5 were wise, they brought extra oil for their lamps. 5 were foolish, they came unprepared. And when the bridegroom finally arrived at midnight, only the prepared ones entered the wedding feast. The door was shut. The unprepared were left outside, weeping, "Lord, Lord, open to us." But his answer cut through the night like a sword. "I do not know you." That door didn't open twice. That train didn't come back around the mountain. And the 7th of September? It's your midnight hour. Right now, somewhere in America, there's a 78-year-old grandmother sitting in her kitchen at 2 a.m., wondering why God hasn't answered her 40-year prayer for her prodigal son. There's an 85-year-old widower staring at his wife's empty chair, begging heaven for one more sign that she's at peace. There's a 90-year-old saint who's tithed faithfully for 7 decades, asking God why her golden years feel more like copper. Dear soul, what if I told you that the 7th of September is the answer to every midnight prayer you've whispered into the darkness? But here's the truth that will make your blood run cold. What you ignore on the 7th of September will not vanish into thin air. Blessings are never destroyed, they are transferred. God doesn't waste miracles. He reassigns them. Picture this. In heaven's warehouse, there's a shelf with your name on it. For decades, angels have been stacking blessings, breakthroughs, divine appointments, supernatural provisions, all marked with your spiritual address. But the 7th of September is inventory day. If you're not present to claim what's yours, if you're scrolling through Facebook instead of falling on your knees, if you're watching Netflix instead of watching for the signs, that shelf gets emptied, and every blessing with your name on it gets transferred to someone who was awake enough to show up. Do you understand what I'm telling you? That healing you've been praying for. It goes to another. That financial breakthrough that should have been yours, signed over to someone else. That restoration in your family that you've wept for, delivered to a stranger who recognized the Kairos moment you slept through. This isn't cruel. This is cosmic justice. Heaven doesn't force blessings on the unconscious. It rewards the vigilant. Jesus himself warned us in Matthew 7:14, "Narrow is the gate and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it." The 7th of September is that narrow gate. It's not wide enough for your distractions, your excuses, your spiritual drowsiness. It only opens for those who approach it with intentionality, with reverence, with the understanding that some doors in life only open once. The 5 foolish virgins didn't lose their oil in a single moment. They lost it drop by drop through complacency, through assuming there would always be more time, through believing that preparation was optional. When the cry rang out at midnight, "Behold, the bridegroom is coming," they scrambled, they ran to buy oil. But the shops were closed. The moment had passed. Don't be a foolish virgin, beloved. Don't let the 7th of September find you scrambling for oil you should have gathered months ago. The train is approaching the station. You can hear its whistle echoing through the spiritual realm. It's a divine locomotive carrying everything heaven has prepared for your latter years. But this train doesn't wait. It doesn't make multiple stops. It arrives precisely at its appointed time, opens its doors for exactly as long as destiny allows, and then it's gone. Will you be on the platform, ready, with your ticket in hand? Or will you be somewhere else, distracted, assuming there will always be another train? The enemy is counting on your complacency. He's banking on you treating the 7th of September like any other Friday. He knows that if you miss this divine appointment, you'll spend the rest of your days wondering why the breakthrough never came, why the door never opened, why heaven seemed to stop listening. But I'm here to wake you up before it's too late. I'm here to shake you from your spiritual slumber and declare over your life, this is your moment, this is your door, this is your narrow gate. If your spirit is awake, if your soul is stirring, if something deep inside you recognizes the gravity of this hour, declare it right now. Type "I will be ready" in the comments. Do not scroll away. This moment is your agreement with heaven. This declaration is your reservation on the train that's about to change everything. But the question that will haunt eternity is this: when the 7th of September arrives, will you be found faithful or found sleeping? Listen to me, chosen one. Can you hear it? That sound echoing through eternity. Those are footsteps. Your footsteps, walking across the bridge of the 7th of September toward the destiny that's been calling your name since before you took your first breath. For 80, 90, maybe even 100 years, you've been walking planks of faith. Some creaked under the weight of disappointment. Some felt solid as granite when God showed up in the nick of time. But the 7th of September, this plank is different. This plank is made of pure divine intention, and your faith is the final piece that completes the bridge. You want to know why your journey has been so hard? Why you've faced battles that would have broken younger souls? Because God has been testing the strength of your spiritual backbone, making sure that when this moment came, when heaven needed someone who could carry the weight of unprecedented blessing, you would be ready. Think about Moses at 80 years old, standing before the Red Sea with 2 million people behind him and Pharaoh's army charging forward. The waters didn't part because Moses was young. They parted because Moses was prepared. Exodus 14:16 records God's command: "Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water." Notice God didn't say if you feel ready or when you think you can handle it. He said, do it. Now, that's exactly where you stand today. At the edge of your Red Sea moment, the 7th of September is your staff, your faith is your outstretched hand, and the blessing that's been waiting for decades is about to crash through every wall the enemy built to keep it from you. But here's what's going to separate you from the crowd, dear one. On the 7th of September, you must walk not in fear but in faith. Carry one clear intention like a flame in your chest. Not a laundry list of wishes, not a desperate plea for everything to change at once. One intention, one burning desire, one clear conversation with heaven. Speak life into the silence. When doubt whispers you're too old, speak life. When circumstances scream it's impossible, speak life. When fear tries to pull you back to the familiar shore of small thinking, open your mouth and declare what God has already declared over you. Guard your focus like a soldier guards the palace gates. The 7th of September will test you. Distractions will multiply. Your phone will buzz with meaningless noise. People will demand your attention for trivial matters. The enemy will throw every firecracker he can find to make you flinch. But chosen ones don't flinch. They focus. Honor the silence when God stops speaking. Not because he's abandoned you, but because he's positioning you. Psalm 46:10 commands us, "Be still and know that I am God." Sometimes the greatest act of faith is standing absolutely still while heaven rearranges everything around you. And when you do these three things, speak life, guard focus, honor silence, that door will swing open. Not creak open, not slowly open. It will swing wide with the force of divine authority, and what flows through will overwhelm you with its magnitude. Here's the final revelation that will change everything. What you seal on the 7th of September is what you will see for the rest of this season. Not next year, not someday, not eventually. This season, the blessing isn't coming, it's here, waiting for your signature, your agreement, your "Yes, Lord, I receive. Say it with me right now. What I seal, I will see. Don't whisper it. Don't think it. Declare it. What I seal, I will see. Your footsteps are echoing across eternity right now. Heaven is listening. Angels are leaning in. And that breakthrough you've been praying for isn't just possible anymore, it's inevitable. If this word has pierced your heart like lightning, don't just hold it in your chest. Share it. Be the messenger for another chosen one who must not miss the 7th of September. Drop a comment below. I will not miss my moment. And share this message, because somewhere out there is someone who needs to hear that their divine appointment has arrived. The 7th of September isn't just another Friday. It's your Friday, your moment, your bridge to the promised land. Walk across it with confidence, chosen one. Your inheritance is waiting on the other side. You thought the 7th of September was the ending, didn't you? You thought once that day passed you could exhale, go back to your routine, flip the calendar page and move on with your life. But that's where you're dangerously wrong, chosen one. The 7th of September wasn't the finale. It was the ignition point. It was the moment heaven dropped a stone into the still waters of your existence. And now, right now, those ripples are racing toward the shores of your future at the speed of divine intention. Listen to me carefully. Your choices on that sacred day are not buried in yesterday's grave. They echo, and those echoes will either lift you into unprecedented favor or haunt you through months of missed opportunities, closed doors, and that gnawing ache in your chest that whispers, I should have listened. Picture this. You're standing beside a mountain lake at dawn. The surface is glass, perfect, undisturbed. Then you drop a single stone. What happens? The ripples don't stop at the center where the stone disappeared. They keep moving, wider and wider, until they touch every shore, every hidden cove, every distant edge of that lake. That stone may be gone, but its impact keeps traveling. That's the 7th of September, beloved. That's what you experienced, whether you realized it or not. If you showed up that day with faith in your heart, with your spiritual ears tuned to heaven's frequency, with your soul saying yes, Lord, even when your circumstances screamed, no way, then you dropped a stone of divine alignment into the waters of your destiny. And those ripples, they're about to touch shores you haven't even imagined yet. But if you ignored the signs, if you dismissed that stirring in your spirit as emotional nonsense, if you chose comfort over calling on that appointed day, then you dropped a different kind of stone, a stone of resistance, and its echoes are about to crash against your future like waves against a breaking seawall. Ecclesiastes 11:1 declares, Cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again. What you cast on the 7th of September, faith or fear, obedience or obstinacy, is already making its way back to you. The question burning in the atmosphere right now is this: what kind of harvest are you about to receive? Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. These echoes don't fade over time. They amplify, they multiply, they compound like interest in a divine bank account that never stops calculating. Every act of faith you performed on the 7th of September, every moment you chose trust over terror, every second you leaned into God's whisper instead of the world's noise, those choices are reproducing themselves in ways you can't see yet. But you will. Oh, you will. But every moment of doubt, every choice to scroll instead of pray, every decision to sleep through your appointment with destiny, those echoes are reproducing too. And they're about to manifest as opportunities that slip through your fingers like water, as relationships that cool for no apparent reason, as dreams that feel further away instead of closer. Do you remember when Elijah threw his mantle into the Jordan River? 2 Kings 2:14 tells us he struck the water and it parted. But here's what most people miss. The mantle didn't lose its power after one use. Every time Elisha picked it up, the anointing was still there, still working, still opening impossible paths. The 7th of September was your mantle moment. Whatever anointing you activated that day is still working, still moving, still creating pathways through obstacles you haven't even encountered yet. But what if I told you there are 7 layers of echo, each one testing whether you're ready for divine acceleration? 7 levels of reverberation that will either catapult you into your greatest season or cement you into your greatest stagnation. The first echo hits within 72 hours, sudden clarity about decisions you've been wrestling with for months. The second echo arrives in week 2, unexpected favor from sources you never anticipated. The third echo rumbles through week 3, old doors reopening, new connections forming. But echoes 4 through 7, those are the ones that separate the casual believers from the chosen ones who understand that when God moves, He moves in dimensions the natural mind cannot comprehend. Each echo is a test. Each reverberation is a question. Will you receive what your the 7th of September obedience purchased? Or will you sabotage your own breakthrough because it doesn't look the way you expected? Here's the truth that will either terrify you or liberate you. The echoes of faith become shields. They form a protective barrier around your life that deflects every arrow the enemy aims at your peace, your purpose, your provision. But the echoes of bitterness become snares. They weave a web of disappointment that catches every blessing before it can reach your hands. Right now, today, this very moment, as you hear my voice, the echo of your the 7th of September is deciding what kind of November you're going to have. It's determining whether December brings you breakthrough or breakdown. It's writing the script for your next year in ways that would shock you if you could see the invisible threads connecting your choices to your consequences. You thought that day was about you and God having a private conversation, but heaven was taking notes. Angels were repositioning. The spiritual atmosphere over your life was being recalibrated based on your response to that divine appointment. If you're still here, if something in your chest is confirming that this message is about you, comment, "I hear the echo," because by saying it, you align with heaven's vibration. You announce to the spiritual realm that you're awake, you're aware, and you're ready to receive what your obedience set in motion. But here's what's going to determine whether you ride these echoes into victory or watch them fade into regret. You must learn to recognize them when they arrive. Listen to me, chosen one. What happened on the 7th of September doesn't end on the 7th of September. Every choice you make, every moment you surrender or resist, every whisper you obey or ignore it, all creates echoes. And these echoes don't fade, they multiply, they compound, they ripple through your bloodline for generations. Tonight, I'm going to reveal the 7 layers of echo that will determine whether your legacy becomes a blessing or a burden. Because here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Your obedience doesn't just affect you, it affects your children, your grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who haven't even been born yet. The first echo, the echo of silence. Be still, and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. But here's what breaks my heart. Most of you are terrified of silence. You fill every moment with noise, distraction, endless scrolling, because in the silence, you hear the truth you've been running from. But God speaks loudest in the quiet. On the 7th of September, when the world is rushing to Friday night plans, when Netflix is calling, when that phone keeps buzzing, will you create sacred silence? Will you turn off the noise long enough to hear heaven's whisper? The first echo is this. What you choose to hear determines what your children will inherit. If you fill your ears with garbage, that garbage echoes down your family line. But if you choose silence, if you choose to listen for God's voice above the chaos, that obedience creates an echo of divine communication that your bloodline will carry forever. The second echo, the echo of opposition. Here comes the shock that will make your hands shake. If your life is easy, you're probably walking in the wrong direction. Every attack you faced, every door that slammed shut, every person who betrayed you that wasn't God punishing you, that was proof your path is real. The enemy doesn't waste ammunition on nobodies. He doesn't attack people going nowhere. The fiercer the opposition, the more valuable your assignment. But here's what most people miss when you stand firm against opposition. Instead of caving, instead of compromising, instead of giving up, you create an echo of resilience that your children will draw from when their battles come. Your grandmother's prayers during the Depression weren't just for her. They were for you, sitting here right now, carrying strength you don't even know you inherited. What opposition will you face for your grandchildren? The third echo. The echo of delay. This is where most people lose their minds. When God's promises seem late, when the breakthrough you've been begging for feels like it's never coming, when you're 75 years old wondering if you missed your moment. But listen carefully, delay is not denial. When time stalls, it's divine refinement. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before he delivered a nation. David was anointed king as a teenager, but didn't touch the throne until he was 30. Your delayed breakthrough isn't punishment, it's preparation. And every day you choose faith over frustration during the delay, you're creating an echo of supernatural patience that will sustain your lineage through their waiting seasons. The fourth echo. The echo of alignment. This is the moment everything shifts. When your obedience finally meets God's timing, doors don't just open, they explode off their hinges. Resources flow from directions you never imagined. People appear in your life like angels in disguise. Opportunities chase you down instead of you chasing them. But here's the key. Alignment only comes after you've passed through silence, opposition, and delay. You can't skip steps. You can't cheat the process. And when alignment hits your life, the echo creates supernatural timing for your entire family tree. The fifth echo. The echo of release. What was withheld begins to flow. Not just money, though. Financial breakthrough often comes. Not just healing, though bodies get restored. But everything heaven held back while you were being prepared suddenly floods your life like water breaking through a dam. The echo of release means your children will walk into doors you had to bang on for decades. They'll receive favor you had to fight for. They'll inherit access you had to earn. The sixth echo. The echo of multiplication. Now we're talking about exponential blessing. What God does for you, He multiplies for your seed. Isaac sowed during a famine and reaped 100-fold. Solomon's wisdom didn't just make him rich, it made his kingdom the envy of nations. When you stay faithful through all six echoes, when you choose obedience over comfort, your blessings don't just double, they multiply generationally. Your great-great-grandchildren will walk in abundance because you refuse to quit in your trial. The seventh echo. The echo of legacy. This is the echo that outlives you. This is the echo that speaks when you can no longer speak. This is the echo that blesses people whose names you'll never know. Your obedience on the 7th of September or your disobedience will echo through eternity. Not just for your biological children, but for everyone your life touches. The young mother at the grocery store who sees you treat the cashier with kindness. The teenager on the subway who watches you stand when the elderly lady gets on. The neighbor who notices you never gossip, never complain, never curse your circumstances. Here's the moment that should stop you in your tracks. The echo is not just about you, it is about who will eat from the fruit of your obedience long after you are gone. Right now, I need you to make a declaration. Don't just think it, speak it. In the comments below, or whisper it aloud right where you are. My echo will be blessing, not burden. Because chosen one, the 7th of September is coming whether you're ready or not. The question burning in the atmosphere right now is this. What echo will your choices create? Will your grandchildren inherit the fruit of your faithfulness, or will they spend their lives breaking curses you could have stopped? The clock is ticking. The echo is forming. And what you choose next will reverberate through generations you'll never meet, but will forever impact. You know what breaks my heart? It's watching God's chosen ones torture themselves over timing. You've been there, haven't you? Praying for decades for that breakthrough, that healing, that restoration, and it feels like heaven put your file in the maybe later stack. But what if I told you that what you've been calling delay God has been calling preparation. Listen to me carefully, dear chosen one. Divine timing doesn't operate like your microwave or your smartphone. It doesn't respond to your urgency or your frustration. It moves like the subway system here in New York. Those doors open for exactly the right amount of time, and then they slam shut with a finality that stops your heart. You've experienced this, haven't you? Standing on that platform of prayer, watching door after door close just as you're running toward them. The job opportunity that vanished. The relationship that ended just when you thought it was beginning. The financial breakthrough that seemed so close you could taste it, then disappeared like morning mist. And in those moments, when the steel doors slide shut and you're left standing there empty-handed, you whisper the question that's been haunting the faithful for centuries. God, did I miss it? Did I somehow mess up your perfect plan? Here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize how you see every closed door in your past. You didn't miss anything. You were being positioned. Think about it this way. In Manhattan during rush hour, thousands of people wait for the same train. But not everyone gets on the same car. Some people need to travel 3 stops. Others need to go all the way to the end of the line. The conductor doesn't let everyone pile into the first car that arrives, because that's not their train. God operates the same way. He's not making you wait because he's forgotten you. He's making you wait because the blessing he has for you requires a different kind of preparation than what your neighbor needs. Habakkuk understood this mystery when he cried out in chapter 2, verse 3, "Though it linger, wait for it. It will surely come." The Hebrew word for linger there means to tarry with purpose, to delay with divine intent. God isn't late, he's precise. But here's where it gets mind-bending, where divine timing reveals its strangest secret. Sometimes God speeds things up when you feel least ready, and slows them down when you feel most urgent. Remember Sarah? She waited 90 years for Isaac. 90 years. Can you imagine the conversations she had with God? Lord, I'm too old now. My body is way past childbearing. If you were going to give me a son, shouldn't it have happened 50 years ago? But God wasn't interested in her biological clock. He was orchestrating a miracle that would echo through eternity. Or consider Joseph, 17 years old when he received his dreams of rulership. But God didn't hand him a throne at 18. Instead, he sent him through a pit, slavery, false accusations, and a prison cell. 13 years of what looked like divine amnesia. But when Pharaoh finally called for him, Joseph wasn't just ready, he was the only man in Egypt qualified to save nations from famine. The delay wasn't denial, it was disguise. God was hiding acceleration inside what looked like endless waiting. You see, most people think divine timing is about when things happen. But chosen ones understand that divine timing is about who you become while you're waiting for things to happen. Every year you spent wondering if God heard your prayers. He was downloading wisdom into your spirit. Every month you felt forgotten. He was building character that could handle the weight of the blessing he had planned. Every day that felt wasted was actually invested in making you someone who could steward what he wanted to give you. But here's what terrifies me about the 7th of September. Here's why this date carries such weight in the realm of the spirit. Sometimes, just sometimes, the season of preparation ends abruptly. Sometimes God looks at his chosen ones and says, "Ready or not, it's time." Moses felt this at the burning bush. He'd been shepherding sheep for 40 years, thinking his destiny had died in the Egyptian desert. Then one ordinary Tuesday, God showed up in a flame and said, "Go to Pharaoh." No warning, no gradual build-up, just sudden, shocking activation. David experienced this when Samuel arrived at his father's house with a horn of oil. One moment he was invisible in the fields, the next moment he was anointed king. The waiting was over. The hiding was finished. The delay had served its purpose. And now it was time to step into what had been prepared since before time began. What if the 7th of September is your burning bush moment? What if all those years of wondering when, Lord, are about to be answered with now, child? The enemy knows something about divine timing that he doesn't want you to discover. He knows that chosen ones who learn to recognize their appointed seasons become unstoppable. That's why he's worked so hard to make you bitter about the delays, cynical about the process, resigned to disappointment. But if you're still here, still listening, still believing despite the long wait, that's proof you carry something he's afraid of. Your endurance isn't evidence of God's neglect. It's evidence of your calling. I want you to do something right now that might surprise you. In the comments below, share the longest delay you've endured and tell us how God eventually turned it into a blessing. Your testimony might be exactly what another chosen one needs to hear to keep holding on. Because the truth is, dear one, your the 7th of September isn't coming to punish your patience. It's coming to reward your persistence. And what's about to unfold will make every year of waiting feel like seconds compared to the eternity of blessing that's about to begin. But first, you need to understand the 3 shadows that are already moving toward that date. But wait, before you step through that door on the 7th of September, the enemy has one last card to play. One final trap that has destroyed more destinies than war, famine, and pestilence combined. It's the whisper that sounds like wisdom but tastes like poison. It's the voice that says, "Remember when." I'm talking about the deadliest temptation known to the chosen ones, the urge to look back. Listen to me, dear saint. Right now, as the 7th of September approaches like dawn breaking over Manhattan, something in your chest is stirring. You feel it, don't you? That ancient call to step forward into what God has prepared. But suddenly, another voice joins the chorus. A voice drenched in yesterday's tears, heavy with the weight of what was, what could have been, what should have happened differently. But what about my mistakes? It whispers. What about the children who stopped calling? What about the business that failed in 2008? What about the marriage that crumbled after 37 years? What about the dreams you buried when you turned 65? Stop. Right. There. Do you remember Lot's wife? Genesis 19:26. One verse. One choice. One look backward. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Not wounded. Not delayed. Frozen. Forever. Turned into a monument of regret, standing as eternal proof that looking back can literally kill your future. The angel had given clear instructions. Flee for your life. Do not look back. But when the fire began to fall on Sodom, when judgment was raining down on everything she once called home, she couldn't resist. One glance over her shoulder. One moment of nostalgic longing for a life that was already being consumed. And that single backward look cost her everything. You see, chosen one, looking back isn't just remembering. It's rewinding a clock that no longer ticks. It's trying to resurrect what God has already buried. It's choosing the graveyard over the promised land. And I know why this hits so deep for those of you who've lived 7, 8, 9 decades on this earth. You've got more yesterdays than tomorrows, don't you? More memories than dreams. More regrets than hopes. The enemy knows this. He knows that when you're 75, 85, 95, the pull of the past feels stronger than the promise of the future. How many of you are sitting there right now, tears already forming, thinking about the grandchildren who barely know your name, the spouse you buried too soon, the career you never pursued because someone told you to be realistic, the words you never said, the trips you never took, the risks you never had the courage to embrace? The enemy wants you trapped in that museum of pain. He wants you paralyzed by the weight of what was, so you miss the doorway of tomorrow. He whispers, "You're too old to start over. You've made too many mistakes. God has moved on without you." That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. But here's what will shock you to your core. Your scars are not chains. They are maps pointing to where God carried you. Every line on your face tells a story of survival. Every gray hair is a crown of endurance. Every struggle you've walked through is proof that the same God who brought you this far isn't about to abandon you now. David understood this when he wrote in Psalm 37:25, "I have been young, and now am old, yet I have not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his descendants begging bread. David was looking back not with regret, but with recognition. Recognition that God's faithfulness spans generations, that his mercies are new every morning, that his plans for you are still good. Moses was 80 when God called him from a burning bush. Abraham was 99 when God promised him Isaac. Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to nations. Anna the prophetess was 84 when she saw the Messiah with her own eyes. These weren't has-beens living in the shadows of their former glory. These were chosen ones stepping into their finest hour. Your the 7th of September isn't about erasing your past. It's about transforming it. Every tear you've cried, every night you've lain awake wondering if God forgot your address, every moment you felt invisible, it's all been preparation for this divine appointment. God doesn't waste pain. He recycles it into purpose. The enemy wants you to stand at the threshold of your blessing, paralyzed by yesterday's failures. But God is saying, "Child, I didn't bring you this far to leave you here. I didn't preserve you through every storm just to let you drown in a puddle of regret." Right now, some of you are feeling something break loose in your chest. Something that's been frozen for years is starting to thaw. That's not emotion, that's resurrection. That's the sound of chains hitting the ground. That's the whisper of heaven saying, "It's time." You cannot drive forward by staring in the rearview mirror. You cannot plant tomorrow's seeds while your hands are clutching yesterday's thorns. You cannot step into the 7th of September with one foot still stuck in last September's graveyard. The children of Israel wandered 40 years in the wilderness because they kept looking back to Egypt. They preferred the familiar slavery to the unfamiliar freedom. Don't let that be your story. Don't let the fear of tomorrow rob you of the breakthrough that's already been signed, sealed, and delivered with your name on it. Type "no turning back" if you're ready to walk forward without apology. Type it if you're done letting yesterday's pain steal tomorrow's promise. Type it if you're ready to let God turn your scars into stars. Because on the 7th of September, you're not walking backward into regret, you're walking forward into redemption. And nothing, absolutely nothing from your past can disqualify you from God's future. But here's what's going to shake you to your core, chosen one. The 7th of September isn't the destination, it's the ignition. It's the match strike that lights a fire so magnificent, so consuming, that it will burn bright through October, November, December, and straight into the new year. You think you're fighting for one day, you're fighting for the rest of your life. Listen to me carefully. The enemy has been whispering lies in your ear for decades. You're too old, your time has passed. God's big plans are for younger people. But I'm here to tell you that's the biggest deception ever told to a generation that carries the most power. You know what breaks my heart? I meet 70-year-olds who apologize for dreaming, 80-year-olds who whisper their visions like they're confessing sins, 90-year-olds who've convinced themselves that wanting more is selfish. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. What if the very thing you're apologizing for is the very thing heaven has been preparing you to walk in? Look at Anna the prophetess in Luke chapter 2. This woman was 84 years old, 84, when she encountered the Christ child in the temple. The scripture says she never left the temple but worshipped night and day, fasting and praying. For decades, people probably thought she was just a sweet old lady wasting away in religious routine. But when Jesus arrived, she was the first to recognize him. Her age wasn't her limitation, it was her qualification. Anna didn't retire from prophecy at 65. She didn't step down from her calling because Medicare kicked in. At 84, she spoke about the child to all who were looking forward to the redemption of Jerusalem. Her mouth became a trumpet. Her voice became thunder. Her testimony shook a city. And if God could use Anna at 84, what makes you think he's done with you? Here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize how you see your remaining years. Every tear you've cried, every heartbreak you've survived, every mountain you've climbed has been preparing you for this moment. Your scars aren't signs of defeat, they're proof of your qualification. Your grey hair isn't evidence of decline, it's a crown of wisdom that gives you authority to speak what younger voices cannot. But the 7th of September is your activation code. Miss it, and you'll spend your remaining years wondering what could have been. Honor it, and watch God unleash decades of stored-up purpose in a matter of months. I see clarity flooding minds that have been foggy for years. I see financial provision coming from directions you never imagined. I see reconciliations that you thought were impossible, phone calls from children who stopped speaking, letters from siblings who held grudges, forgiveness flowing like rivers where there used to be deserts of bitterness. I see new courage rising in tired hearts. Courage to finally write that book you've been carrying in your chest. Courage to start that ministry you've been praying about in secret. Courage to speak truth to family members who've been walking in darkness. Courage to dream again when the world told you dreaming was for the young. But here's what's going to blow your mind. God isn't just preparing to bless you, He's preparing to use you as a blessing pipeline for generations you'll never meet. Your obedience on the 7th of September doesn't just unlock your breakthrough, it unlocks breakthrough for your children, your grandchildren, and great-grandchildren who aren't even born yet. Think about Abraham. God didn't just promise to bless him, He promised to make him a blessing to all nations. One man's obedience became a river of blessing that's still flowing 4,000 years later. Your yes to heaven on the 7th of September could be the moment your family line shifts from struggle to abundance, from brokenness to wholeness, from survival to significance. Some of you are sitting there thinking, "But I'm already 85. How many years do I have left?" Listen to me. It's not about the quantity of your years, it's about the intensity of your impact. Moses led Israel for 40 years starting at age 80. His most powerful season came after most people would have been pushing up daisies. Age is not a wall, it is a crown. The older you are, the louder your echo. When you speak, 3 generations listen. When you pray, heaven leans in. When you declare God's goodness, demons flee and angels take notes. Your voice carries weight that young voices simply cannot match because it's been seasoned by fire, tested by time, and proven by perseverance. But the enemy knows this. That's why he's been working overtime to convince you to sit down, shut up, and fade away quietly. He's terrified of what happens when the senior saints wake up and remember who they are. He knows that when the elders rise, revival breaks out. Right now, I need you to do something that might feel uncomfortable. I need you to look toward your future, not just the next few months, but the next decade, and declare God's goodness over it. I need you to stop talking like your story is ending and start speaking like your greatest chapter is just beginning. In the comments right now, I want you to type these powerful words. I bless my bloodline. You're not just commenting, you're prophesying. You're declaring that the breakthrough coming through you doesn't stop with you. You're opening a pipeline of blessing that will flow to generations not yet born. But this vision, this fire, this unprecedented season of favor, it all hinges on one choice. Will you show up on the 7th of September, or will you let heaven's appointed moment slip through your fingers like so many opportunities before? The orchestra is tuning up. The curtain is about to rise. The question that will determine everything is this: are you ready to step into the starring role of your own life, or will you remain a spectator to someone else's story? Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this divine appointment together, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you into the 7th of September and beyond. First, remember that this date isn't just another Friday on your calendar, it's heaven's appointed moment when your faithfulness meets God's favor. You are not too old, not too late, and certainly not forgotten. The same God who used Anna at 84 and Moses at 80 is still writing miraculous chapters in lives that the world has written off. Second, remember that your age is not your limitation, it's your authority. Every tear you've cried, every mountain you've climbed, every valley you've walked through has been preparing you for this season. Your scars are not shame, they're your credentials. Your experience is not burden, it's your weapon against the enemy's lies. Third, remember that the 7th of September is not just about you, it's about generations. Your obedience opens doors for children and grandchildren not yet born. Your yes to heaven creates a river of blessing that will flow long after your earthly mission is complete. But hear me clearly, you are not walking this path alone. The God who called you before time began is still orchestrating divine appointments in your life right now. He sees every sleepless night. He counts every tear. He knows every struggle. And beyond that, you have a community right here, thousands of believers who understand your journey because they're walking it too. We are your spiritual family. We see you. We believe in you. We will stand with you in prayer as you step into everything God has prepared for your life. Let me ask you one final question that will echo in your heart long after this video ends. If God has brought you this far through every storm, every heartbreak, every season of doubt, why would He abandon you now at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough? Now, before you go, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of 5 decades walking with the Almighty. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has heard this message tonight. Lord, you know their names, you know their struggles, you know the weight they carry in their hearts. Right now, I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their weary spirits. Where they feel forgotten, remind them of their worth. Where they feel defeated, restore their strength. Where they feel afraid, replace fear with faith. God, I pray specifically for the 7th of September. Let your presence be so thick around their lives that they cannot miss what you're doing. Open their eyes to see, their ears to hear, their hearts to receive everything you have prepared. Send angels to guard their steps and prepare their path. Let divine appointments unfold with supernatural precision. Father, bless their families, heal their bodies, provide for their needs, restore their relationships. Where there has been division, bring unity. Where there has been sickness, bring healing. Where there has been lack, bring abundance beyond their imagination. Most of all, Lord, remind them daily that they are loved beyond measure, chosen beyond doubt, and destined for greatness beyond their wildest dreams. Let them wake each morning, knowing that this could be the day you move mountains on their behalf. Let them sleep each night in perfect peace, knowing that you are working while they rest. In the mighty name of Jesus, who holds their future in His hands, I seal this prayer with faith, hope, and love. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share what God spoke to your heart tonight. Tell us what you're believing Him for in this season. Ask for prayer. This community will surround you with intercession. And if this message stirred something deep in your spirit, type the 7th of September, I'm ready, and let heaven take notice. Don't keep this light to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to remember they're not forgotten. Tag a friend who's been feeling invisible. Send this to a family member who's lost hope, because when we lift each other up, God responds with breakthrough. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. You're not just subscribing to content, you're joining a movement of believers who refuse to give up, who choose faith over fear, who know their best days are still ahead of them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what God wanted to pour into you tonight. Thank you for being part of this sacred community where faith grows, hope is restored, and miracles happen. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are. You are chosen, you are loved, and the 7th of September is your moment to shine. God bless you mightily, chosen one. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.